Hello and welcome to episode 1115 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Tuesday, November 15th. It's actually episode. Hang on, I'm gonna restart. Restart. At least for the recording. Anybody who's already here gets to see me goof. Hello and welcome to episode 1113 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Tuesday, November 15th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, dear sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Got a sick kid at home, and then a not sick kid who's just crazy. So that's
you got a sick kid here too. So
oh no,
you're gonna have to take care of us. Take care of me too while you're potting, and then get back to taking care of your kid. We won't have too long of an episode because we want to make sure that you get back to your sick child. But we're going to cover some interesting players today. You've been doing a cool series these last 2 days over on the site, looking at steamer fades and steamer values. And we put it in quotes because it's based off of steamer. If you don't agree, then you're not seeing these guys as fades and values. But based on the projection system of steamer, those are out now, by the way. You can find those on the website. There's some guys that you were fading, or that they suggest you fade and that they suggest you pick up. If you agree with them, we're going to talk about a few interesting guys just across the board, one at every position, up and down. So some of these names you might have considered for your list, some of these names you might have included on your lists, Justin. But I want to tour the diamond here and talk about some ones that stood out to me and get your thoughts on where you stand. Are you agreeing with steamer? Are you fading what they're saying here? And I just want to dive right in because this first one hurts my heart. And I disagree again because I disagreed last year that Tyler Stephenson was on the down end. And they got him down here again. And I can't say that I'm surprised. They didn't love him coming into 2022 because he hadn't really shown a power stroke or anything just yet. And B, he only played 50 games last year because he got hurt. So they don't really know how much to trust the 134 WRC plus that he put up. So I get it, but I do disagree with it still. I thought he was having a breakout last year. The power wasn't great or well over what he had done. We're talking about a 146 to 163 ISO jump for Tyler Stephenson. That's less than 20 points. That's not really moving it, but it was an 854 OPS, which was, well above the 797 from the year before. Batting average was running hot. There were some plate skill issues that I didn't love. All in all, I didn't know what to make of it because it's 50 games and it was interrupted by 2 injuries, the second of which finally took him out for the year. But they see more of a pedestrian 257 average, 15 homers, and 60 steals, which with the explosion at catcher, that ends up kind of falling down the list a bit to where it's not really that impressive. He's the 13th catcher off the board. Again, this speaks to the depth of catcher as much as anything else, because I think a few years ago that line would have been a top 10 catcher, but now you got it at 13, still ahead of the likes of Kybert Ruiz, Travis d'Arnaud, Jonah Heim, just below the likes of William Contreras, Danny Jansen, and Sean Murphy. So again, that really shows you the depth here. So I wouldn't say that Steamer hates Stephenson, but I would say that they are still coming in pretty light. This is one I disagree with, but I'm still going to be sticking with him and paying the quote-unquote premium because he's the 9th catcher off the board, 13th catcher according to Steamer. How do you see Tyler Stephenson after the 50-game flourish last year that was cut short by injury?
I'm a little worried because Stephenson's been a guy that I've loved in the past as well. But with that explosion at catcher that you're referencing, I don't feel like the desire to pay the price, considering what we've seen. What we've seen is like a below average exit velocity, a guy that's having trouble staying on the field now. It's a great park. He's gonna play a lot
on that park, by the way.
Yeah,
and I'm happy to do it. Like I don't mind doing. I don't mind saying that the park is a big reason why I'm staying bought in. But also, and I said this last year, the eye test for me a bit. I look at this guy like I think power is going to develop. He's 6'4", 230. Like I don't know. And I know not every guy who's built well, Yandy Diaz, not every guy who's built well hits for power. But I think he was starting to come into it a bit last year. I just really wish we could have seen his full season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of a issue with it's not Yandy Diaz-esque launch angle, but I mean, he only put the ball in the air like just short of 30% of the time last year. And you're not going to take advantage of that home park if you're not putting the ball in the air.
Well, at least not via homers. I do believe
Yeah.
that he can be an average asset, though. 294,
I do.
286, 319 in his 3 samples, only one of which was big. That was the 286 in 2021. He can be an average asset. Maybe you don't get the power out of Stephenson, but if you get a 280 average at catcher with low teens homers, that's still pretty great.
Yeah, I have him as my 12th catcher right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I have him kind of at the bottom of like the last tiers of like C1s I really want.
I got him
So
8th. I'm big on him.
I think you're a little too high.
Still love him. I think it's not unfair to say, especially because some of the guys right behind him I really like, 2 of whom could be on new teams, Danny Jansen and Sean Murphy.
Yeah, I don't know how you put Sean Murphy behind Stephenson. I've got Danny Jansen behind both of them, but
if Murphy isn't moved, he's spending another year in Oakland, and I think that,
which means he can DH. Like, I mean, he's going to volume his way into being a top 10 catcher.
He did this year at 612 plate appearances. We'll see if he does that again. I think that a healthy Stephenson is going to be playing a ton too, though. I don't know that the volume is going to carry somebody like Murphy over Stephenson, because I believe that Stephenson can have a 20, 30 point batting average edge.
That's plausible.
So I think he can make it up there. Like, I'm going to be among the rarer folks to have Murphy ahead of Jansen, or excuse me, Stephenson ahead of Murphy, pardon me. But I'm willing to bet on Stephenson still. I really am. Murphy goes after Stephenson in the early ADP. So you must be loving that. That, like, there is a really interesting window there from Stephenson to, I would even say, Heim at 18, Stephenson at 9 to Heim at 18. And I even like Logan O'Hoppe at 19.
Mm-hmm.
The catcher is awesome. It's so wild to say, and I hope it doesn't blow up in our faces the one year we're like, oh, the catcher's deep now, and then they all regress. But it feels really deep, and maybe just the simple volume alone, no matter how much you love Tyler Stephenson, or no matter how much you love an Alejandro Kirk and MJ Melendez going at 7-8, maybe just the overall depth says you should wait a bit at catcher, because you can still get, usually people wait at catcher because they're punting. We don't subscribe to that. We tell people you should get good catchers. If you punt, you are giving something away. But you may be able to wait this year just because it's deep.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think you can. I mean, the 30th catcher, at least last I checked, the 30th catcher coming off the board was Jose Trevino. Like, I'm fine like that if he's my C2. Like, that's a pretty damn good C2. I think
it's a great defender, so he's going to play, right?
Yeah, and it's still a great lineup. I don't think the Yankees are going to do anything to dethrone him as their top catcher. So, like, if you were going to punt catcher in a 2-catcher league, I mean, you should always kind of punt catcher in 1-catcher league. But if you were going to punt catcher in a 2-catcher league, like,
unless you get Real Muto or something, like, I'm okay paying for the top in a 1-catcher, but I hear you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I want one of the top 8 or 9, and then I want to wait. Like,
that's exactly how I want to go. I want to get a stud and then a low mid-tier type that I like. Mm-hmm. And Jonah Heim's probably going to be that guy quite a bit. He had a dreadful August and September, and I was just looking at it yesterday. It'll be in an article. If you're listening to this pod the day it's released on Tuesday, then my article might already be up too, because I didn't get to post it yesterday because I have the crappiest laptop in the universe. Looking at Heim's fall off, I think it's a fluke. I think he was unlucky. He had like a 105 BABIP for the 2 months or whatever. So I'm buying back in on him. But I like Stephenson. I understand the pushback. I'm not going to go too hard and say like, oh, no, you're wrong. It'll just be one of those where we disagree a little bit, and we'll see who comes out on top with Stephenson. But let's move on to first base. I know we've talked about this guy a lot recently. 2 off-season pods. I can't ignore the Joey Meneses steamer line. No, I'm sorry. I have to bring him up again. So pardon me for those of you who are done hearing about Joey Meneses, but oh my goodness, did you see this line, Justin? I mean, I know you did because you did all the data, but holy crap, dude. 264, 314, 465 slash with 29 homers, 91 ribs, 78 runs. That's the 6th first baseman. Now, this takes it beyond a any sort of Schwindelian comps at this point, because Schwindel might have had some love in the projections and might have been seen by the community as like a decent play for late. This is saying, no, Joey Meneses is an absolute stud. What say you about this steamer projection for Joey freaking Meneses?
Man, this is a problem. I just can't buy it. Like, I just can't. Like, I love that they regressed him, 60 batting average points, because I think that's fair. But
yeah,
29 home runs. Oh,
I just really believe in the pop, which, hey, by the way, we talk about Park, and I know we've hinted at it at least here and there on this show, but we need to talk about Washington as a positive park too.
Yeah.
It did fall off a bit last year from where it had been, but it is still a positive home run park for sure. It dropped to 11th. It had been third for the 3-year period prior to 2022. So I don't know exactly what happened. Or excuse me, it was 8th. Okay, sorry. It was 8th for a while there. So it's only fallen down a bit. It was 5th overall is what I had seen for the 3 years, 20. I guess that would be 19, 20, and 21. Of course, 20 could have skewed that by just being crazy for 60 games. At any rate, or 30 games. At any rate, you look at this Meneses situation. He's 31. We've talked so much about him, I know. Does this bring you over to his side at all, though? Like, how much do you look at a projection on a guy that maybe you didn't love and say, that's got me? I'm sure it's case by case. So do the Meneses case. We were both kind of like, he's not a bad hitter. We could see some positive things, but we're not really diving in. You see this. Does that change your mind on Joey Meneses when they give him a near 30-90 projection?
I mean, here's the thing about projections. Projections are done on a computer, and we don't get to see the inputs.
True, but a lot of times they strip out bias, and like they have their own biases, right?
For sure.
But they can strip out biases like, oh, this is some old dude who popped off for 56 games and I don't know what to make of him type of deal. The computer synthesizes his, 56 games and his minor league data and still comes out this strong, which I think basically what I think this projection says is that they fully believe that he's a like legit power hitter, right? And if he is, then he can have a really great season. Does this make you buy into Joey Meneses anymore?
I don't think it does. Like, I don't think it changes because I think what it does is challenges me to go into a deeper dive and
You're not ranking him 6th at first base?
Absolutely not. Like, I'm gonna see where I currently have him. I got him low. I could probably see that.
I mean, of course, like neither of us are putting him anywhere near 6. I was stunned when I saw it, and I agree with you, by the way, about ones like this make me do a deeper dive. I want to check myself. I never want to just be so arrogant to be like, well, this projection system's wrong. I'm right. And, of course, I'm a dumbass, but I still look at this and I can't get anywhere near there. I think the best I could do is probably move him into like the top 25 because he's currently not there, Justin.
Well, yeah, I just moved him to the top 25 while we were talking. So maybe it is moving me a little bit. I have him 22nd.
Okay.
I can't imagine, and I think he could easily move down as we get more information on other guys that I currently have ranked below him, like Miguel Vargas, like Jonathan Arenado.
I like that. I like him, by the way.
I like him a lot. I just don't know what the role is going to be.
That's the thing. He can't really play any position. Jonathan Arenado for the Rays, but dude can hit. He's another one of these guys that can just hit, but they don't know where to play him. I think that's why they moved Choi, by the way. Not to sidetrack us, but I think that's why they were comfortable moving Choi.
That's
so
what I'm
good
hoping.
call on Aranda. But we'll get into him more down the line. So you're moving up Meneses a bit. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, as I'm looking at my ranks, I'm like, can I really rank Meneses above Casas? I think I have to right now because he's got a full-time role, and I don't know what Casas' role is. Like,
did you see the note today about Boston?
No.
Well, it's vague. It doesn't necessarily cut into Casas or anything, but it says they plan to be big spenders this offseason. Well, where can you usually spend? I mean, but you can usually find, not that you should, by the way. I don't think you should buy a first baseman. If you're going to be spending, you should be spending up the middle and getting pitching. Yeah. But could they maybe bring in somebody that clouds Cassis's playing time?
I don't think they will. I mean, he's a top tier prospect.
They certainly shouldn't. I guess I don't
Yeah.
even know who that would be. Like, why would you bring in Josh Bell or Jose Abreu over Cassis? So you know what? Forget that worry. That is a note about
To me,
them.
it's got to be pitching, right? Like if you're
Pitching.
Boston and you're going to spend like pitching and outfield, I think would be the two spots. Or I mean, unless you want to bring a shortstop, but
I mean,
you
you
have
just got
Trevor Story.
Are you moving him to second in year 2?
Well, he's already been at second. He was in second all year because Bogart.
I know, but it was always supposed to be a 1-year thing, though.
Yeah.
Right, because they weren't going to. Are you saying they would keep Bogarts?
That's what I think. I mean,
well, in that case, if you're going to keep Bogarts, I'm fine keeping Story at second. But I thought it was always a 1 year, and then we transition back to Story. By the way, don't forget they also have Hosmer, so they're not going to do anything at first to encroach upon Cassis. Going back to you discussing Cassis versus Meneses, Cassis versus Meneses. That's not how you pronounce his last name, but it rhymes, so I liked it better. So Cassis versus Meneses, you're not quite ready to have Cassis above him. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think, like I've got Meneses right above Brandon Drury, where we don't know what his playing time situation is going to be, right above Seth Brown, who I love the power, but the plate skills are awful.
Yeah, I like him, but I know his flaws, and he's...
Yeah. I mean, but I can also make the argument that Seth Brown should be above him because he's outfield eligible and he's going to play. Like,
he can run a bit too.
Yeah,
he's not a slow guy. Don't just judge him as some slow power white dude.
He's not. He's not going to sit in Oakland. Like,
I don't think so. Now they might trade him though. He's 30.
He could
next year.
Yeah.
So you could see a situation where they kind of sell high on this good season plus from Seth Brown because a team might see him as a great first and all 3 outfields. He can hang out in center a little bit. You don't want him there permanently, but if you got to play him in center here and there, you can with Seth Brown. So that's an interesting one. But we'll see if Meneses rises up our boards. And again, sorry for the third pod in the offseason to talk about him, but when I saw that, I had to bring it up. Crazy line.
Until he raises that launch angle.
He being Meneses.
Yeah, I just don't know that like he can tap into that kind of power. Like Steamer's projecting him to put the ball in the air way more than he has. And I don't know where they're getting it from. He does hit the ball hard with regularity, but he's not like a massive power guy. And he's also not he's like barely above league average in terms of zone contact. So like, I think he's like a 260 hitter. He may get to 25 home runs because of the PT. Like I think that's fine. Like it's
90 ribbies on that team though. Even if he plays every day,
they may not score 90 runs. That team is awful.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where those ribs come from too. I mean, yeah, give him full playing time. I still don't quite see it, but yeah, that's Joey Meneses. Let's move on to a guy that we love on this show. So much so that we were promoting him as a potential first rounder last year. In fact, took him as such in some leagues. It did not work out, primarily due to injury, but we'll eat that L on Ozzie Albies. 64 games, and they weren't particularly good when he did play, but obviously the time missed was a big issue. Steamer is saying run for the hills. Well, maybe not run for the hills. When I tell you this line, you're not going to be like, what do you mean run for the hills? But 259 average, 20 homers, 13 stolen bases for Albies, which is pretty pedestrian for what people are expecting out of him, especially where he's being drafted. Which he did make your list, didn't he? Oh wait, no, that was he did make your list of potential busts, right?
Yeah, I just forgot to tag him.
Okay.
On the side, I just did it, so hopefully it will pop up here.
So what did you see with our boy Ozzie, and how do you feel about the Steamer projection for him?
He had the largest gap between what Steamer says he will do and what ADP is in turn, like a negative gap, right? Like, so Steamer says that he is like, oh God, now I gotta find him. Oh, I've got it right here. So Steamer says he will be the 92nd best hitter, projection to be the 92nd best hitter this year. NFBC is currently drafting him as the 28th best hitter. That's not good. I think it all comes down to playing time, though. I mean, when I kind of looked at this, if you kind of change around the playing time a little bit, and you kind of project him to hit in the top half of the lineup where he's hit most of his career, like he'll be fine. I think he's fine. I think he's a potential first round talent that you're getting. I got him in the 4th round of my first draft this year in a 15-teamer.
That's the thing. I'm open to the discount on all.
I am too. The question
I'm
is,
not quitting.
Question is, do you believe he can stay healthy?
I mean, I don't know, but you know how I feel about injury. Like I'm not going to try to be Mr. Injury Predictor because I don't think we're good enough to do that. I am going to be smart and like if somebody has chronic injuries, I'm going to take that into consideration and all that. But man, I think this discount.
At what point do we consider this chronic though? Because this is now the second time in the last 3 years that he's missed a large portion of the season. He missed almost half of the 2020 season due to injury, and now he's missed.
But that's not half of a season. That's 30 games.
But it's all we have to go on. And I think that's part of the issue here. And part of the issue with a lot of Steamers projections this year is they're still waiting in 2020. And when you miss 30 games or 31 games, as in Albies' case, I believe it was, that's 51% of the season. So
if that is weighed heavily, then I think the projection systems are messing up. If that counts the same as missing half of a regular season or anywhere near,
I don't know how they're weighting. It's not how I would weight it.
Yeah.
But I mean that, and I mean he was also back before the injury. Like we can't. Like
it's a wrist, foot, and a pinky, right? 3 different things here.
Mm-hmm.
For Albies.
And a pinky, I agree with super fluky. I mean,
yeah, and I agree with you that he wasn't very good when in the 64 games that Albies did play. So we can't just say, oh, it was just injury. Like there was a power outage there. He seems to be a great candidate for your type of middling power guys that you were diagnosing early last year that were going to have the biggest issue with this power drop off. So maybe he'd have gotten a little bit of it back in the summer if he'd have been able to play, but he was sidelined. I don't know, man. I think 3rd, 4th round is still going to be good enough for me to buy back on Albies. We're still talking about a 26-year-old who's shown greatness coming off a 30-20 season back in 21. He's on an amazing team. I'm willing to take the plunge. I don't think I agree with. I don't think I agree with Steamer being cautious. I understand where that projection comes from. I do, but it's not going to make me tap the brakes and not draft him in that 3rd, 4th round range.
Yeah, and like I said, I already taken him once in the 4th round, and I almost took him at first pitch. I just wanted to take different guys.
Yeah, not just get all the same guys that you had. So I think we're staying in on Albies, but we'll see how the offseason goes too, because if he starts to rise, right, as people get more comfortable with him and we get into February, March part of draft season, there is a world where he gets back into that 2nd round area. And then maybe we press the brakes and say, okay, I'm not quite willing to pay, that full price from last year, but I'm willing to pay the discounted price right now on Albies. Let's move over to shortstop, talk about Ha-Seong Kim, another show favorite of ours. He did yeoman's work, as they like to say, filling in this year, not missing a beat when Tatis was ruled out for the year. Being Kim, had been bouncing around. Then obviously he gets the full-time shortstops role and ends up playing 150 games, 582 plate appearances, 11 homers, 12 steals, 251 average. Nothing that's like winning you your league, but a nice little solid fill in, probably at the MI or CI spot, depending on where people were playing him, because he had 3rd base eligibility. He was triple eligible last year, so it could have even been one of the actual 2nd, 3rd short positions, let alone MI and CI. So he was a nice little Swiss Army knife, especially in those deeper formats that you and I play. In 12 teams, he's probably still pretty fringe and not necessarily somebody you're playing every week. Looks like the Steamer projection thinks that he can be a bit better, though. 17 homers, 12 steals. Same steal count, but 6 more homers. Batting average down to 248 from the 251. So we'll call it basically the same average. But they like a little bit of a power spike here. How do you see Ha-Seong Kim in his 3rd season stateside?
Where is this power spike coming from?
I mean, in fairness, it's only a 15-point ISO jump. It could simply be a smooth, a rise toward league average of his homer to fly ball rate, which was just 7% this year, 10% in 21. So it might just be as simple as they think a few extra fly balls go over the fence.
And they also are giving him 40 more plate appearances. They think he's
So
going
there
to
you
have
go.
a full-time role. His ex home run was 14 and a half. So it's 3.5 over where he actually finished. So then you add in those plate. I guess I can
Yeah,
get there.
we're kind of piecing it together how they got there, and I don't think it's outlandish. What I'd really like to see, though, what I think his skills portend to more is a rise in the batting average and hopefully the steals. I would take 11 homers if it came with 18 steals and a 270 average, right? I would be, I think that would actually be a more valuable line to me based on what I'm drafting and where I'm drafting Kim. I think that would actually be better. I mean, if he takes a power jump instead of a speed jump, I'm not going to complain. I'll take this stat line here, but I think it'd be cool if he kind of flipped it, 12 homers, 17 steals, and then the batting average goes up. Because I mean, he's not a huge contact guy, 18%, 17% carry, but only 7% swinging strike. He puts the ball in play. Kim does. So, do you think that that could be a path where the average and speed actually go up, and maybe the power stays similar?
Um, mm, yeah, I don't know.
Give us his plate skill rundown. You're always keyed in on the
Yeah, I
second
mean,
level plate skill metrics.
the plate skills are pretty good. 88% zone contact, so it's a he's making a good amount of zone contact within the zone. That's above league average, which was around 85% last year.
Okay.
Not swinging outside the zone a ton, 27%. That's well below league average.
So is the
Uh,
swinging strike rate. He's 4 points below
yeah,
league average on swinging strike rate for Ha-Seong Kim.
yeah. I mean, his whiff percentage was in the 84th percentile. Um, he doesn't hit the ball with very much authority, and so that's where I start to go. I don't know if I buy that 17 home runs. I would
Sure.
probably project 14 or 15. And I think there are massive playing time concerns once Tatis comes back. Not that I think he's going to like lose all of his playing time, but the idea that he's going to get to 600 plate appearances, he could. Will he? I think it depends on what
I
the
think
Padres
so.
do. Like right now, as the team stands, yeah, I think he's getting 600 plate appearances. But do we not think like are they really going to roll with Jake Cronenworth at first base?
Why
I,
not?
I think they would go and get a first baseman. Maybe
I
they bring
don't
back a Josh
actually.
Bell. Um, yeah,
Maybe they keep Drury or Bell, because they, especially Drury can play other spots too. But I don't know that they're necessarily out on Cronenworth as a first baseman. He's not a traditional first baseman, right? 17 homers this year,
mhm.
21 last year, but he does other things and has that positional flexibility that I think they might actually be fine with that. You got to start to, wonder if money becomes an issue too. They're going to be paying Hader a big raise. They've got obviously the big Machado deal. They got Soto going up.
Yeah, but they got Will Myers off the books
They do have some guys off
now.
the books, but
Uh,
they got Eggy Rosario in at second base right now.
mhm. Yeah, I
So
didn't realize how many free agents they had.
yeah, I actually think Kim's playing time should be fine because I
Yeah.
don't know that they're just going to replace every open spot here. They got left field that looks pretty open, second base that looks pretty open, DH as well. They got Jorge Alfaro penciled in there right now. I think they might get one guy for those, Tatis for one of the other spots, and then kind of piece it together with something small, not
Ta-
necessarily a big guy that's going to take Kim's PT.
Does Tatis go to the outfield?
He
Like
might go to the outfield. They also talked about him playing some second base.
yeah. Yeah, I think that you're looking at a guy who's potentially like a 250 hitter, mid-teens home runs, probably 14, 15, 16, something like that. Um, teen stolen bases. Uh, and if he's leading off, which is what roster resource has been projected for, a boatload of runs. Um, I wonder if this would be a team that would want to go get a leadoff hitter, like a more traditional guy who, at least walks at a double digit rate.
Yeah,
But
I think Cronenworth could be a leadoff hitter for them.
yeah, uh, I don't know. I like him. I think the price is fine. Like, I don't think the price is bad at all. And I mean, Steamer loves the price. It has him as the 122nd best hitter. He's currently going as the 163rd hitter, which is 273 overall. So
I'm gonna take that discount there all day on Kim relative to where the projections are. I do think that there is some community trepidation about the playing time. They maybe think he's going to go back to a part-time role. I don't see that. I think he was brought over to play. He's not being paid a ton by any stretch. So I don't think this is like a money forcing. He's going to make $7 million, which is actually perfectly fine for a utility hitter. But I look at this team composition right now, and I think that there are avenues for Ha-Seong Kim to continue to play every day, even when Fernando Tatis Jr. comes back. So I'll be taking him. He did lose one of the eligibilities. He didn't keep second base, but he still has short and third, so he can still do CIMI. That's 4 positions on your, plus utility, of course, everyone has that. So that's 4 positions that you can put on your roster for Kim. I'm getting more stock of him this year as I have the first 2 years of his career in the majors. Moving on to our next guy. Sorry, Justin. You might want to close your ears for this one. Of course, that would make me talking to myself. But Josh Rojas, steamer, not a fan. And I wonder
Nobody is.
how hurt you are by this. 10 homers, 15 steals, 250 average. The homers is actually one above last year's mark from 9, but the steals is a big drop off from 23. And the batting averages too. He hit 269 last year. They got him going down to 250. They don't like your boy, man. 29 years old. They don't even have him for a full-time role, 125 games again, which is what he played last year, but that's because he missed sometimes. So it's a pretty negative outlook. How did you feel when you saw the Josh Rojas numbers from Steamer relative to where he's going in drafts?
I have been slowly coming to grips with the fact that I'm too high on Josh Rojas. I think this is maybe the final nail in the coffin. Maybe I just want him to have a full-time role, but I think everything points to him potentially not. Now, that can all work out, right? Like he, was losing playing time, and then everybody on the Diamondbacks got hurt.
Yeah.
So
by the way, when you said that you're coming to terms with the realization that maybe you're too in on Rojas, I envisioned weirdly, so I'm going to share this.
Right.
Alex Chamberlain, who lives in Hawaii, by the way, so out in the ocean on a raft in a castaway situation wherein he's named his volleyball Rojas, and he's having a big fight with him saying you're not real type of deal. Is that the kind of realization that you're going through? Because I imagine that Alex is battling that daily with his volleyball that he named Rojas.
I feel like that is maybe the best analogy of all time. And I've got the beard for
you're ready to fill in.
Yeah.
And combining the two of you too, because you got the beard, you're in that castaway state, but also for whatever reason, the last 2 times I've seen Alex Chamberlain on screen, I think it was during PitchCon, and he was shirtless, so he was already in a little bit of a scraggled state, if you will. And I think he's probably having a really tough time with this. We should probably check in on him after this Steamer projection for Rojas.
I think that'd be a good idea.
So you are realizing that maybe it's a little rough. He can't hit lefties, and the defense is so bad right now that his positional flexibility is he is that traditional guy of he plays everywhere because he can't play anywhere type of thing. And I wonder if that's going to start to hurt him as more and more young players come up for the D-backs. Is that the realization that you're making with Rojas?
Yeah, plus the Nick Ahmed's going to be healthy again. They've always really loved Nick Ahmed.
They're a beautiful shortstop. He's so good at playing short.
Yeah, they're a team with a lot of young guys coming up, but also because they don't have a lot of money on the payroll right now, they could be big spenders. I would not be surprised if they were a team that pulls a big free agent. They've done in the past, right? They've not been shy about going out and popping a big deal or two. So I just worry that the playing time for him is going to be sparse early on, and I really wish I had not drafted him as highly as I did in my first draft. I definitely have to drop in my ranks. So unfortunately, I haven't finished updating my ranks because my kid was sick, so I wasn't able to work as late as I wanted to last night. But he'll be plummeting. He'll be plummeting in the ranks, unfortunately. I still like him, and I think a lot of people are going to be talking negatively about him, and so I think his ADP is going to drop considerably. And so
currently 161.
Yeah, so in your DCs, I think he'll be a fine kind of bench bat option. But losing that outfield eligibility hurts too, because
yes,
that as we keep saying, it's the weakest position in fantasy this year. And it would have been really nice for him to be able to retain that. Maybe he gets it back in season as he gets maybe pushed to the outfield at times as a super utility guy.
That would take lots of injuries because they're already full. We were talking about this.
Yeah.
We talked about this at the FPAS.
Like, where does Alec Thomas?
Yeah, where the heck's they even Alec Thomas? So then
I think he's gonna be fine. I think Alec
Rojas
Thomas
would be after that. Well, I mean, but I don't think he is going to be fine.
Well, and Steamer loves Jake McCarthy.
Oh, they do? I didn't even see that one.
Yeah, like Steamer. I was really surprised.
15 homers, 28 steals, 258 average. Yeah, that'd be quite a season out of Jake McCarthy there.
Yeah, Steamer has him as the 59th best.
24th outfielder.
Yeah.
59th best hitter.
59th best hitter. He's going as the 82nd best hitter right now. I'm not on board with that.
I'm not either, man. I wrote up his forecaster blurb, and I'm not 100% sure on the power with McCarthy. He made a swing change in 21 that helped him start to show power at the minor league level. He kept that up at the minors again this year, brought some of it to the majors, hit 8 homers in 199 games. That's not terrible. The speed really drove him. I don't know if the hitting is there. 15-28 with a 258 average, though, that would be amazing if Steamer is correct. I don't know that they are, though.
Yeah, I'm not buying that at all.
So
I'll do a deep dive at some point, but my general feelings or my initial feelings on Jake McCarthy is that I'm not going to buy what people are putting down for him.
Yeah. Okay, I'm picking on you because I did 2 in a row here that sting your heart. Actually, I don't know. I wrote Brandon Marsh down here. He had a negative one, right? Let me see. Brandon Marsh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm hitting you with 2 guys that you like. They did not feel good about Brandon Marsh, and I get it, right? You look at it's all due to the fact that he strikes out so much, which I'm sure you're going to acknowledge. He has to start fixing. But there was not a lot of love in Steamer for him. 10 homers, 11 steals, and 473 plate appearances with a 231 average, 31% K, 8% walk rate. It does come down to that swing and miss. He played better with Philly, 114 WRC plus, but still struck out, didn't walk. Actually, was only 2 for 4 on the bases too. What are you seeing out of your boy? He's only going to be 25 next year. You're a big Brandon Marsh guy. I totally get it. Power speed guy. The upside is there. We saw glimpses in the playoffs of excellence. Where are you going to be with Brandon Marsh next year? First full year in Philly.
I think he's gonna get fixed. I'm back in, baby. I never left.
I was gonna say you didn't go anywhere.
And like this is one of like the biggest like Steamer fades right now. They have him as the 274th hitter off the board.
274th
hitter off the board. And he's going 162 hitter off the board. He's going 270 in ADP.
Yeah, he's the 270th player off the board.
Yeah,
they think he's 4 spots worse among hitters.
They think he should drop 112 spots from hitters, just hitters. That doesn't include pitchers. So
holy Toledo. Yeah, I don't know if that's pretty.
Steamer hates him, but
you understand why, right? Like it is all of that swing and miss. And looking like he's kind of flailing at the dish.
I understand, like even if you just look at what he did in Philadelphia, you're going to go, well, it's a 30% strikeout rate. It was just an 11% swinging strike rate,
which was an improvement, a 3-point improvement. That is worth noting. Like it might sound like you're being tongue in cheek because that is still about average, but that's about average. He was at 14% with the Angels.
He also had an above average zone contact.
Okay,
87.5%. We know there's power in the bat, right?
Yes.
We know there's speed in the profile, right?
And he plays a mean defense, so that's huge for Philly.
Especially for Philly, because we don't know when Bryce Harper's going to be ready to play the outfield or if he's going to be ready to play the outfield. So you've got Nick Castellanos on one side and Kyle Schwarber on the other. You're going to play the best defender possible. That's Brandon Marsh.
Oh, I do believe Brandon Marsh is going to get that PT. I agree. He would have to be playing pretty badly to get hit up. Now, let me bring up this, though, because Matt Vierling is a pretty good platoon partner and can play a true center as well. Do you worry that Marsh is in a straight platoon?
I do not. At least not yet. But like I said, I think what Steamer says right now is that Brandon Marsh's price is going to drop a ton, because I think a lot of the projection systems are going to be right in line with this.
And as those come out, they'll start to impact the drafts.
Mm-hmm.
We will see that.
So give me all the Brandon Marsh if that happens. Like, I'll take that.
Staying bought in.
Because I think there is a potential, even if he is swinging and missing, that he is, some version of Adolis Garcia. Like, where he can hit for power, he can hit for speed, and maybe the batting average sucks. But
I can't fully disagree with that after what Garcia just did. And I was extra out on him.
I'm still fading Adolis Garcia this
especially
year,
because the price has risen.
Give me the next Adolis.
There you go. I see what you're saying is that Marsh could be the next guy to jump up and be that Adolis Garcia, leveraging his defense into full-time role and playing just well enough. And what I mean by just well enough, I mean by putting up plate skills that are just good enough to keep the playing time, while his fantasy skills were off the charts, which is what the case was for Adolis with the power and speed. I didn't want to go too negative, two negatives in a row and then end hitters that way. So I wanted to throw an extra outfielder in. Oscar Gonzalez got some major love from Steamer here, and it's power related for sure. He came out, by the way, 91 games, 11 homers, 296 average. Interesting guy though, right? 20% K rate, which is not bad, but a 14% swinging strike rate, which, as we just said, was 3 points higher than average, and only a 4% walk rate. Wonky plate skills there that didn't seem to hurt him, because when he made contact, he smacked the hell out of the ball. Oscar Gonzalez did. So he had a 345 BABIP. All in all, it was like a good line. It was a good season, but it left some questions. Steamer does not see many questions there. They're projecting the power to continue to rise, putting him up nearly 30 points in ISO from 166 to 193. The result is a 23 homer season in 567 plate appearances with a 275 average, 19% K, 4% walk. That's pretty robust for Oscar Gonzalez out in Cleveland. Do you agree with Steamer?
Oh man. I think there are going to be a lot of Adolis Garcia comps on Oscar Gonzalez, and while they're not necessarily unfair, like, I don't think that they're like spot on in
only at the dish though, right? Because Oscar does not have defense like Garcia. Right?
Yeah. Well, I think because he swings and misses outside the zone so much.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
He
also doesn't run like him, so be careful if people are making those comps too closely.
He's got a 48% O swing, but here's the thing: he just swings at everything.
He does. Oscar Gonzalez ain't met a pitch that he doesn't love to swing at.
Yeah, I mean, he had a 76 zone swing percentage, which would put him, if he had been a qualified hitter, as like a top 20 in terms of aggressiveness inside of the zone. Like, I think he's just going to keep swinging. I think the problem will come for Oscar Gonzalez is when pitchers start saying, well, why am I going to put it in the zone against you?
Yeah, he's like, just keep swinging, just keep swinging. Isn't that the song from Finding Nemo?
Yeah, and I just think that there wasn't enough time for him at the major league level where pitchers really changed what they were going to do against him. And I think they will.
I think he outran the adjustment to him, and the clock ran out on it. 91 games for Oscar Gonzalez. Mm-hmm. So we didn't quite see the impact of his free swinging ways just yet.
Yeah, and I think once that happens, he could have a major crash. Now,
that sounds to me like you're fading what Steamer's saying here.
Where he's going, it's not a bad price. Like, we're not talking about a guy who's like inside the top 150. I think the question becomes with Steamer saying he probably should be in the top 150 or close to it. If his price raises, then I'm going to start to fade. But I think there are going to be a lot of people who express these similar concerns that we are. And this is what happened with Adolis Garcia last year. He started off pretty hot in terms of ADP. And I mean, not like super hot or anything like that. And then everybody went, look at the skills, look at the skills, look at the skills. And by the time drafts came around in March, he was a bargain. Like, I don't care what the skills are. Like, he was going to play. I think Oscar Gonzalez is going to play. I mean, I know he's not like a premium defender or anything, but Cleveland doesn't have a ton.
No, and I think they want to see where this back goes too, because the one thing I do agree with Steamer is I can see a power rise. Mm-hmm. The dude looks the part of a masher, but he has some Jorge Solarian type traits that didn't show up in the K rate.
Former teammate Franmil Reyes, right?
There you go. There you go. It didn't quite show up in the 20% K rate that we saw, but it's looming there. And he did have a lot more strikeouts in the minors. This being Oscar Gonzalez. So this is a positive projection, but I'm not sure that Justin and I see it all the way through.
I mean, his largest walk rate in the minor leagues, like, is 6%. And like that was his, rookie ball in 2015. Like most of the minor leagues, he was rocking at a 3% rate. And I just don't know that, you're going up against guys who are trying to live in the zone because they want to show that they can live in the zone. And I just don't know that major league pitchers are going to keep pounding the zone against him if he's not going to show the ability to lay off of it.
That's a good call. That's a really good call there. So be careful with Oscar Gonzalez. Could be a little bit of a trap based on that great 91 games. I could see some regression here. And
I'm just going to say, with Oscar Gonzalez, if you're in a 10 or a 12 team league, take it. Take the
upside because you could get 30 homers. And if he strikes,
you can drop him.
Yeah, if he strikes out 30%, you're cutting him in April.
I think the problem is if you're playing in a deeper league, 15 team AL only, like you may not have, especially with how bad the outfield is, there is no replacement value. So like right now I'm in a 12 team draft I'm doing that I shared with you. I have no problem taking Oscar Gonzalez kind of where he's going. Like, I might end up just grabbing him just to have one share. But he's probably off my board in most 15s.
Yep. League context matters so much. And we talk about that a lot. And it can wildly sway a player's value and your interest in him. And I think Oscar Gonzalez is a good case of that because outfield's shallowness. You want to be having him in a league where you can comfortably replace him. 10s and 12s definitely offer that for Oscar Gonzalez. Let's talk pitcher and get out of here. This one doesn't surprise me that they're hot on him. I'm just wondering if the market's going to follow suit. That's Tylor Megill over in New York for the Mets. The reason I'm not surprised is because his core skills, the strikeout and walk specifically, were very good. Again, for 89 2/3 back in 2021, and then for 47 1/3 this year. So it's 137 total innings where he's at a 19% strikeout minus walk with a 12% swinging strike rate. That's really good. What's gotten him has been the home runs. And this year, it really was that overwhelmingly disastrous start that he had that effectively ended his season. I believe he did come back after that, but I don't know if he made another starter. If he did, it wasn't many. After he gave up, 8 runs in 1 1/3, moved his ERA from 2.43 to 4.41 in one fell swoop in mid-May. He did make he made 2 more starts in June when he first returned from the IL, then went back on the IL until September, missed 94 days, and then relieved in September. So I think Tylor Megill's a bit forgotten right now, which I kind of like, kind of keeping the price at bay. And then you turn around and see Steamer now, 3.76 ERA, 1.21 WHIP with the aforementioned 19% or 18% strikeout minus walk projection. Are you in on Tylor Megill for the rebound? He's going at pick 309, by the way.
Yeah, I think at that price, that's fine. Like
that's what I like so much about it, is that like it just the market is just not charging much for Tylor Megill right now. He's the 44th starter according to Steamer. Pardon me, 1 spot ahead of Julio Urias, who we were going to talk about, but we didn't. But maybe that'll be another episode where we get into more because Steamer hates Urias.
I mean, I understand why, but like
I get it, but
surprising to me. I'll be writing that one up probably tonight.
They got Springs and Megill ahead of him. But what about Megill as the 44th starter? You don't have to pay anywhere near that. He's the 116th pitcher. I mean, even if you take I don't know exactly how many relievers.
87th.
Okay,
starter.
There you go. I was going to say take about 40 pitches off there. So is that something that you're paying? Are you buying in on this for Megill?
Oh, according to my ranks, I don't think I am. I can't even find them. Oh no, I mean I've got him above where he's going in ADP.
Where you got him?
I've got him 80th.
Okay.
I think the innings are the biggest concern for me. Like, what kind of innings total do we get? He missed a lot of time.
He
And I know
did,
a lot.
but
I know.
I don't think they're gonna baby him. You have him 80th. You have him higher than me. I thought I was a Megill guy.
Yeah, I mean, I love the skills. I kind of have him in a tier of guys who like, hey, real interesting, arm, but like, what can I reasonably expect from Andrew Heaney and Aaron Ashby, teammate David Peterson.
Yeah, I got him right around some of those guys too. So I just have him a little bit lower, but in the same general vicinity. By the way, maybe we'll do one where I give you some more favorable names instead of ripping Rojas and Marsh because they love Heaney. Holy crap. Because it's all about health.
Yeah, like when he's on the mound, he's really
good. So I'm not surprised by that, like any more than I am surprised. Like I get the Urias drop too because he's beaten his Sierra so much the past years. But I get it with Heaney. If you could magically keep him healthy for 140 innings, he could be a god. But Megill, 140, that's not a crazy number. He's gonna be 27. Like, dude, the Mets really have to baby him. Like, I think they're gonna see him as a key piece of the back end of that rotation. I think they believe in him too. I really do. And so, if they lose DeGrom, which we don't know, I don't know how you feel about that.
It seems likely they're gonna, right?
But even if you lock him in, say they get him back, DeGrom, Scherzer, Carrasco, Peterson, Megill, there's your top five. I still think there's room for him there, even if they keep DeGrom. Then if they lose him, I think it's a slam dunk.
Yeah, I think they're going to add someone in spring training, maybe in
maybe they go the bargain route, but then that doesn't kick out Megill unless they DeGrom.
I think the only thing that keeps Megill out of the rotation is his health history. Like, is he, is that elbow intact? I think there are serious questions. And so I'm not going to I'll be interested to see where projection Steamer places Megill. Because I think there is a kind of injury red flag you got to put on him. So you can't load him up with the Andrew Heaneys of the world, but you're not having to pay much for it. I'm totally fine with the price. I actually think the price, especially in shallower formats, offers a really, nice buying opportunity because, just like we were talking about with Oscar Gonzalez, in a 12-team league or a 10-team league, if Megill's injured, there'll be a pitcher on the waiver wire.
Absolutely.
There's going to be someone that's out there that's worth picking up, or you just stream that spot. In a 15-team league, I think you have to be a little bit more careful with that.
I think that's fair. I think that's definitely fair there. I'm not as fearful as I am outfield. I'm with you on the outfield panic, and maybe we're overly panicking, but set yourself in that state of mind to not get far behind on outfield in draft champions.
Gnostic Baseball's asking about Chris Bassett. Chris Bassett's a free agent.
He got the
qualifying offer.
He should take that, by the way.
He absolutely should take it. But
I envision him taking that. That's a great call out, by the way. I envision him taking it. If DeGrom doesn't come back, though, that still doesn't. Then you go Scherzer, Bassett, Carrasco, Peterson, Megill.
Because Taijuan Walker, is he taking
also a free agent?
But also got. Oh no, he didn't.
No, he didn't. He didn't, because he would take it in a second. I don't say that to diss him. I say it because his health is such that's why he couldn't be offered that. I think is that it would be too much to offer Walker. He would slam dunk take it after making. Oh, wait. He has a $6 million player option. Oh, he must have declined that because he can make more.
Yeah.
For sure. That's where you probably saw a Walker in the news. So I think there's a reasonable. Here's the question, because we know the Mets are going to make some moves, whether it's Bassett coming back or whatever. Megill versus Peterson, because it could come down to that if they do re-sign DeGrom and Bassett takes it, right? They go big on money there. Then it does become Peterson versus Megill. Where do you go on that bid? Because you mentioned that you have them ranked near each other, so I don't think it's just a straight ranking thing. Because even if you have them 6-7 spots apart, that's essentially the same.
So Bassett comes back, and someone else comes in.
Let's say DeGrom resign, they go crazy. They say this is all in. We got Bassett to take the QO. We signed DeGrom to a 2-year, fucking $90 million deal.
If it's DeGrom, if we're saying Bassett and DeGrom, that's all righties. So, like, I think you have to go with Peterson as the lefty, right?
No. I know. I just love Megill. I think you're right. That's my anguish is that you're probably correct.
And he's, he threw what, like 70 innings, not 47 innings last year. I think you have
Peterson
to
threw 106, right? He was
Yeah.
more of a not a
Well, and
full-time
he
starter, but he made
and
19
he
starts.
and he I think 3 innings in the minor leagues, right?
Oh yeah,
So
so he threw another 26 there. So buck 30, buck 32 for Peterson. So that's a pretty foolish season. Like he doesn't have to be babied, right? You guarantee you don't have to worry about
plus you've got
managing
the
the innings.
elbow worries with Megill. Like I think Megill becomes a swingman type guy. Like he's going to do 2-3 inning, starts or 2-3 inning kind of stints. And then if somebody gets hurt, as someone always does, especially when you have,
Absolutely.
in this scenario, DeGrom, Carrasco,
Even Bassett's not a spring chicken. Like he doesn't get injured all the time, but he's just not young.
I don't think that they re-signed DeGrom. I do think they bring someone else in, but
I think Bassett takes it. And if he doesn't, then they work out a 2-year, 3-year deal with him. I think Bassett's coming back. So by one way or another, I agree with you. But I also agree that I think DeGrom is going to go. I think they're going to disperse that money elsewhere. I don't think they're pocketing it. Cohen, I do think, is committed to spending. But I think they see what they've gotten out of DeGrom's innings the last couple of years, and they make the judgment that they want, they want something more sturdy. And I don't know if that's the right move, by the way. I'm not saying I fully agree with it, but I think that's where they're going to go. I agree with you.
You know where the money they should spend goes? It should go to Wilson Contreras.
That would he just turned down his deal, which we all knew. But I agree.
I know they spent a lot of money on James McCann, but that was clearly a mistake at the time. And like that is the one spot in their lineup.
I'll say this. You know what? I won't say it wasn't even a mistake. 10 mil, even for your backup catchers, not the end of the world. It's not like 4 years, 40. We were all like, whoa, for James McCann. But remember, he was coming off some pretty solid seasons with the White Sox. So it made a little bit of sense. But even if you push him to your secondary guy at 10 mil as one of the top spending teams in the league, I don't think that that's crazy. If Tampa Bay is doing it, that's a bad spend of money because we know that they're going to be cheap across the board. If Big Stevie Cohen's doing it, what I'm saying is I don't think McCann should preclude them from going to get either via trade Murphy or Jansen or via the market Contreras. So I agree with you there. That's a good call out.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's going to wrap us up there. I'm talking about some steamer. Just they weren't uniform there. They weren't all fades. They weren't all buys. It was just a mix. Go read Justin's articles. We did have a little bit of overlap today. You and Nick Gout wrote similar articles about some steamer busts. But steamer is giving us plenty of fodder right now here in the mid-November. I don't even want to say the doldrums because I'm not fully out of baseball. I think the doldrums hit in December, January, where I'm just like, oh my God, please give me something. But right now, we have award season. No major surprises yesterday. Would you have gone Harris or Strider, by the way, for the NL? Because they were pretty close.
That's a really tough one. I think I go Strider, but
I would too, but he lost to Harris, which I don't think is egregious in any way, shape, or form. I happen to favor Strider there. I think it maybe should have even been closer than it was. It was close, but pretty firmly for Harris still. I think it should have been like razor close because I don't know how you separate the two.
Yeah, I don't either, honestly.
Maybe everyone was flipping the coin and the coin kept landing on heads, so everyone kept putting Harris first.
They probably looked at ADP and went Harris is going higher than Strider.
He's in the second round, right?
Yeah.
Harris.
Ooh, no, I mean, they're both
third round, right?
But yeah, I had a shot at Strider at the 3-4 turn in my 12-teamer, and I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, I just can't. So
Quanzilla. You do have Burns and Gallen though, so that's pretty.
Yeah.
You'd have had to pay more for Strider than Gallen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like Strider. I consider myself a Strider fan. I take Gallen later easily. Mm-hmm. And that's more about Gallen than it is negative about Strider. But that's your 12 team that you're working on right now, where you got Witt, Burns, Realmuto, Mullins, Gallen, Iglesias, Bautista, and then Jimenez. You're focusing on that outfield and those saves. I like it. You got some rarity there with some positions. I see where you're going.
I'm coming around on Eloy right now.
Oh, dude, because the thing of it is, Actually, you say your piece. I don't want to take what you're going to say.
Well, I wrote him up because he's one of the guys steamers higher on than ADP. And I was like, oh, I kind of expect that because they're going to discount the injuries a little bit, or probably more than I would normally. I think that the market is.
Yeah.
But one, outfield is so bad, and two, like I went through his injury history. He's been injured 5 times in the majors. Only one of them has been as a runner, and none as a batter.
He had the one outfield one where he tried to make that crazy catch.
3 in the outfield. 3 times in the outfield he's been hurt. And the 4th time was celebrating Lucas Giolito's no-hitter. He pulled a calf muscle, jumping up, celebrating.
That happens way too often, by the way. That David Robertson missed a playoff series because of that this year.
Yeah.
Not only that with what you're saying with Eloy, which I totally agree with, but also the simple fact is he's literally never been bad. 2021, he was not good. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that a 100 WRC plus was good, but it wasn't bad either. He was league average. He was fine. And that was in a compromised 55 games last year. This year in his 84 games, 144 WRC plus. In the 55 games of 2020, which is a full season, 138 WRC plus, 115 his rookie year. The dude can hit. So if you're just looking for skills and you're trying to hopefully spike some health luck, that's the kind of guy you do it on. And I'm with you on Jimenez. I see him as a worthy high pick, and you do not have to pay what I would consider full price right now. You got him in the 8th round of this 12-teamer. That's a nice price on Eloy Jimenez.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally because I said earlier this offseason, I'm just not touching Eloy, and I've already drafted him in my now 3rd draft of the year. So
price will do that to you, right? You'll think you're out on a guy, and then all of a sudden,
also just deep diving on a guy. For me, I think he, the fact that he's not going to be playing the outfield is going to be huge for him. Now, does that mean he still won't get hurt? I don't know. He's got the Giancarlo Stanton body style, and that scares me. But I love the fact that they told him just keep your glove at home. I think that's going to solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, that is the right move. And sure, he's got the Stanton body type, but Stanton also has some brilliant seasons under his belt,
especially while he was still young.
Yes, and when Eloy hits, 37 homers like Stanton did in 2014 or 59 homers like he did in 2017, I want to be on board because I believe in Eloy as a hitter. So that's a good call out there. And you mentioned a great point about off-season ranks. A lot of times we will have ranks come out, a bunch of movement happens, no games happen. People say, well, how'd you move anything? Nothing's happened. It's like, hey, man, when I rank 100 players at a position, I didn't get to deep dive every single one. I kind of started placing them based on last season, just some different things with ADP and where they're going and everything. As we deep dive everyone, guys move up and down. That's just part of ranking. And so I like that you brought that up because that happens with guys, somebody like Eloy, who you even outwardly said, I'm kind of off. You studied and said, I'm back. Yeah, Rojas, you were openly in on. Now you're fading as you deep dive him. So there is a lot of changes like that. And that's just the way the rankings go because you can't possibly deep dive everyone when you first put out a set of rankings. Or if that were the case, then my first set can't come out till January, which nobody, that's people want to see where things are.
And this is why some people's ranks don't come out till February, right?
And I respect people like that. Yeah. That, Scott Jenstead, Rob Silver, religiously talk about how they shut it down for a couple months, and I do not blame them. I have a sickness and I want to be in on it 24. It's also our jobs, right? They have different gigs to where they don't have to worry about it as much. So that is also helpful there. But Justin, we'll be back on Friday talking more baseball. I'm not exactly sure what the topic will be, but maybe it'll be more steamer stuff. If you guys have any off-season topics you want discussed, don't be afraid to hit us up. We're always open to suggestions. But until then, I hope your kid feels better, and I'll talk to you on Friday.
Take it easy.